And one. Hello, welcome. My name is Bryce Tubbs. I'm super excited to be able to share this interview with you guys. Today I have Chelsea Haines. She's a gut health coach. She helps you heal your gut so you can trust it again. She's also the host of the Let's Start Health podcast. Thank you so much, Chelsea.
Hey, Bryce. Thanks to you. I'm honored to be here.
Excellent. Is there anything else you'd like me to add to introduction of you?
Yeah, I think we're going to dive into it a little bit more, but I think you did a really good job.
Excellent. So everybody has like a past and like a story. So, what was life like before you got into coaching, and what was the catalyst that got you into the field?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So I have been coaching now full-time for really full-time only since last year. It's been kind of a transition into full-time coaching, which has been amazing. It's been a progression over the years of exploring really what my intuitive self desired to do, and the process of remembering what I like to say, why my soul came onto this planet. We are all raised in certain conditions and situations where we are taught certain things about what our life should look like. And for me, the process over the years of becoming a coach was a lot about breaking down all of those barriers and rewriting my own story in a way that felt more in alignment with me. So I graduated college in 2008, the year of, prior to recently, the most modern economy crash. So trying to find jobs right out of college was a little bit challenging. I was always chasing the money and the fancy business card, and it kept leading me down one dead end after the next. So it was no surprise that eventually, once I got tired enough of that, I became a full-time yoga teacher in 2013. So many years after graduating college, and a long journey to that choice. And that's really when my life started kind of falling into place, was when I really decided to say, you know what, I'm throwing away all of the beliefs that I have around making money and what success looks like and how I have to do those things, and how other people have defined those things for me. And I'm just going to start doing it my own way. And becoming a yoga teacher was really the first step to eventually and launching that business was the first step to eventually the evolution of becoming a health and life coach.
Cool. So then, why did you choose stomachs and guts?
I love this. So I've been on a personal journey of optimizing my gut health since 2009. And the reason for that is because I have an autoimmune disease that manifests as symptoms of psoriasis on my skin. And psoriasis started showing up for me when I was late in high school. And I thought it was just dandruff at first. I thought, I was a swimmer. I thought the chemicals in the pool, I lived in New England, I thought it was just really dry weather and dry skin. And finally, I ended up going down a journey between Google and dermatologists and was diagnosed with psoriasis. And that was in early 2003, I want to say. So it wasn't until 2009, after I graduated college, I graduated high school 2004, college in 2008. It wasn't until 2009 when I finally was sick and tired of the doctors just giving me more dead ends and more creams, basically Band-Aids for the bruise. I really just intuitively felt like there is something else going on here. I do not believe that my body is attacking myself like most mindsets will tell you in regards to autoimmune conditions. I truly believe that my immune system is trying to fight something in my body, and it's just a little bit confused, right? It doesn't really know what it's fighting or why. And after years and years and years of digging and optimizing, I believe that it was mold toxicity that originally was the source of the original onset of these symptoms. But even before that, I think what flares the symptoms up over the years is gut health. So in 2009 was when I hired my first nutritionist and went through an elimination protocol to see what foods might be triggering problems in the body. And that's 11 years ago when I really started the journey of understanding the power of our gut microbiome and how we can start to optimize our gut health to eliminate symptoms in our body that we have started to write off as normal. So
Mhm.
I really like measurable results. I really like to see relatively quick results. So, if anyone's listening to this and is experiencing anything like struggling to lose that last 10 pounds or having rashes or other signs of inflammation like headaches or inability to sleep or bloating or gas, a lot of these symptoms that we experience, or even mental emotional instability like anxiety or depression, these are not normal. And I think it's really important to understand that just because it's not normal, it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you, but it
Mhm.
does mean that your body's trying to communicate with you. So I would highly encourage anyone listening to this to start leaning into, what is my body possibly trying to teach me? What are these signs? What are these symptoms trying to express, and what could be a source of that? And what I've learned over 11 years of research and continuing education and also experimenting on myself is that if we optimize our gut, we can often optimize and remove very quickly a lot of these symptoms that we have started to just live with, that we
Mhm.
really don't have to live with. So that's where gut health sort of spawned from for me and has turned into a big passion of mine.
So that's interesting. So is it only for people who have so let's say someone has IBS. Does your kind of program or the stuff you teach help with that as well, or?
Absolutely. So if you're having any kind of dysbiosis, so however that is manifesting in your life, it could be other autoimmune symptoms like thyroid problems or alopecia or, skin, like I said, anything of the skin really, whether it's
Mhm.
rashes or discoloration or loss of pigment or whatever it may be, or hyperpigmentation, these things are definitely a sign that your gut is trying to communicate with you. So it definitely, I would say a lot of people have other symptoms first that manifest before the gut issues. So if you're at that stage where you're having IBS or problems with constipation, diarrhea, or bloating after you eat, then you are at a more advanced stage, which is kind of, it's a little bit different thinking, because you would think, oh, well, if I have gut problems, I'm going to have gut symptoms. But in reality, it can be less grandiose than that. And I would venture to say that maybe you are someone who struggles with chronic fatigue or headaches, or, something that's a little bit more subtle first. And what happens with gut dysbiosis is over time, we've ignored those symptoms for so long, and we live in such a world of so many toxins and not proper. And when I say proper, I just mean like optimized living, right? We're very plugged into our computers and not plugged into nature. We eat processed food rather than whole foods. We don't sleep regularly. We don't honor the hours of sleep that our body is really craving for. And it kind of, the world that we live in is sort of setting us up for failure.
Mhm.
And I don't say that to feel overwhelming, but I say it to be a moment of clarity and understanding that the symptoms that you're feeling are not your fault, but it is your responsibility to heal them. So by the time you might be experiencing actual gut issues, maybe you've already had other symptoms that you have been experiencing. But to answer your question, yes, gut healing is for everybody. I would venture to say that every single human being could benefit in some way, somehow, of optimizing their gut health. And if you are experiencing more severe symptoms, don't wait another day to reach out, because the longer you wait, the worse they're going to get.
Interesting. I had two questions in mind, but I
Cool.
couldn't remember either one because that last statement was really powerful.
Mm.
Interesting. Fuck, now I'm stumped. All right, cool. Let's just move on to the next point, which is, it'll probably come back to me in a minute. So
Yeah, I will.
what's the vision for your life? Oh,
Mm. You remembered. Go back to it.
it almost came up and then it stopped.
It's there. It wants to come. We'll let it organically come through. But brain fog is actually another symptom, right? Not
I
that you're
have fucking
having
brain
brain
fog.
fog right now, but
Yeah.
but I think that feeling of like, man, I just feel like I just can't. I mean, I think we can all relate to that feeling of overwhelm and brain fog, where it's just like, man, I'm just struggling to finalize things or follow through on completion of certain things.
Yeah.
But the vision for my life, man, this is a big one. I really hope to be able to, well, it makes me think of the book, The 5 Regrets of the Dying. Have you ever heard of that book?
Nope.
So the book, The 5 Regrets of the Dying, was written by a hospice nurse after years and years and years of spending time and doing research and interviewing people who were on their way to transitioning out of this body and out of this realm and into whatever comes next. And she said the number one regret, and I might botch it here, but it was something along the lines of, I regret living my life on my terms, and I regret living it dictated to me by the way that I perceived other people expected me to be. It's something along that line. She puts it in a little bit more eloquently, but that's how I perceived it. So when I, God willing, when that time comes for me, hopefully not for many, many years, I hope to be able to look back on my life every single day, even if it were to happen tomorrow. I hope to be able to look back and say, you know what? I lived my life with no regrets. I lived my life as best I could with the tools that I had, and I was always interested in learning more. And I lived my life hoping to make a positive impact on the world around me and the people that I interact with. So, the vision of my life really is to, I particularly work with women moving forward. I hope to help women feel empowered in their bodies, to understand that the symptoms that they're experiencing are not their fault. It might be, the traumas that we've experienced in our life are not our fault, but sometimes our coping mechanisms are out of date. So my vision is to be able to help women upgrade the software that they are operating from, to give them some new shiny tools in their toolbox to cope with stress and cope with those traumas and to heal those traumas at a much deeper level. And the way we do one thing is the way we do everything. So I believe that when we start on the visceral level, when we start with the body, this kind of roots back to my yoga teaching, right? Where we have the most control is our breath and our body. This is also where we get those quick results that give us the motivation to keep moving forward, to do the deeper healing, right? If I'm on a journey to healing and all of a sudden now I'm waking up feeling refreshed, or I don't get that afternoon slump anymore, or I can have a conversation or a presentation without feeling brain fogged, or I can feel present with my partner and my children without feeling scatterbrained and like there's 100 million other things on my to-do list that I just can't seem to get done. To allow women to trust their gut again, to trust their gut instincts, and to be able to live a life where they are digesting their emotions, they're digesting their food, they are feeling empowered to trust themselves and live their life in a way that feels aligned to them. That is really the vision, the bigger vision for me. I hope to be able to make that positive impact, and also to share my own personal vulnerable story, because leave it to Brene Brown. She's one of my biggest inspirations. I hope to be able to vulnerably share and then have that vulnerability met with empathy on a collective level, so we can collectively move past our traumas in life and live in a more empowered way. Because honestly, Bryce, if I'm not waking up happy and excited for the day, if I'm waking up just planning when I can take a nap already, then what's the point? What's the point of all of it?
Well, that's pretty cool. I mean, it depends. So, because what happens if you get tired? Do you think that is because of the food, or do you just assume that you have something is wrong with your gut health at that moment?
It's a really good question. So fatigue is something that I work on closely with my clients, right? Mm-hmm. And chronic fatigue is very different than just getting tired. Yeah. Chronic fatigue means I'm waking up still tired after 10 hours of sleep. Chronic fatigue means I need to drink coffee all day long just to keep my eyes open. Chronic fatigue is debilitating, right? And if you've ever experienced chronic fatigue, it affects everything. It affects and not only does it affect your ability to show up, but it affects your mood, it affects your outlook in life, it starts to affect your thoughts, which then affect your habits, which then affect your emotions. So, or your thoughts affect your emotions, which drive your habits, right? And then we end up on this bad loop of, well, I'm tired, so I'm going to drink more coffee. So I'm going to then probably have a sugar crash and have to drink more coffee. So learning the signs of our body and coming back to this place of intuitive knowledge is something that I really teach. So what this means is we are all made very differently. We are all from very different backgrounds. Our genetics are all inherently extremely different. So there is no one-stop shop. And for one person, for example, Bryce, something I had to learn in my life was that I need, and I do really well with 9 to even 10 hours of sleep regularly at night. Right? This was a paradigm shift for me, because for ages I lived in this world of, well, I should only need 7 or 8 hours. So I was living within those confines of my life and then wondering why whenever I woke up at 6 or 7 in the morning, if I didn't go to bed till 11 or 12 at night, I felt horrible. And I thought, man, like supposedly everyone else in the world only needs 7 or 8 hours of sleep. Something must be wrong with me. So this was a paradigm shift for me, because once I started to optimize my gut health is when I actually got real with myself. And I said, you know what? Again, I'm going to throw this belief out the window that I only need 7 or 8 hours of sleep. And I'm going to experiment with better, healthier habits for me. And what does that mean for me? That means going to bed earlier at night, which means I have to start my wind down process earlier in the night, which then is going to set myself up for inevitable success for a good morning routine. And I know that with an easy morning routine, this is a whole nother conversation, one that works for me, the 5 a.m. club doesn't work for me, then my day is really set on a positive note. And I have filled my own cup starting the night before. I've given myself permission to have 9 or 10 hours of sleep at night. Now I can live my life feeling like my best foot is forward and I can show up for everybody else in my life. But I had to look at, well, why am I getting tired at night? Gut health was a piece of it, but the lifestyle side of it and the beliefs driving that lifestyle, I really had to break those through and say, you know what? All of the experts tell me that the 5 a.m. club is where I quote unquote should be at. And, and I'm just shoulding all over myself. And I'm feeling the pressure and the guilt and the shame if I'm not waking up at 5 a.m. and going and running a 10K and doing all these things that all the quote unquote successful people do in life. And that was no longer serving me. So that was feeding to the chronic fatigue, the drain of the guilt and the shame of why can't I do this? Why am I not living up to my expectations? Well, guess what? I wasn't living up to mine. I was living up to somebody else's expectations. So, in regards to, well, when I get tired, what does that mean? Well, it means that it's time to look in the mirror and have some real talk with yourself. And what that means is starting with defining your values. What are the things that are important to you and why? For me, waking up feeling rested is very important to me. I hate waking up feeling still tired. And I know that when that happens, it's because, if I'm keeping it real, I probably did something in my day, in my week that built up to maybe some kind of toxic relationship with my nighttime routine, or maybe I was eating foods that didn't allow me to sleep well at night. Maybe I overindulged in some alcohol, and even though that was really fun, maybe it was a little bit too much, right? Maybe I ignored the intuitive signs, and then I, had those consequences. So, my intention to answer is to help people come back to that place of, well, you tell me. If you're feeling tired, you tell me why. I don't know. You know your body best. Yes, I have years of research, but I don't know why you're tired. You know why you're tired. And that is my job, to help empower you to say, you know what, Chelsea, you're right. This is why, that is why, and that is why I'm feeling tired. So now what am I going to do to shift or change that? What's the empowered action? Am I going to give myself permission to rest, or am I going to try to muster through it and push through it and maybe push myself even deeper into that hole?
Nice. Yeah, that's a good, so the thing I was thinking about in addition to that, right, is, well, there's two questions, but I'll ask the prior one. So we talked about nowadays there's a lot of processed food and there's like whole foods. What would be example of, or first let's do some examples of foods that most people would expect would be whole foods, and then some that would not come to mind regularly.
So you're asking me for examples of whole foods that are nourishing for your body versus processed foods?
No, but what we would think of readily, what are some things we would not think of readily that are whole foods?
Hmm. I mean, I would venture to say anything that just comes in some kind of package is not a whole foods, right? Like I'm struggling almost to answer this because I think for me it's how I live my life. So I'm trying to step into the question here of what is the difference behind a whole food versus not a whole food? And really anything that comes from the ground is a whole food, right?
Mm.
Now, we have to then take it one step further
Yeah.
when we are looking at, optimized health.
Uh,
So what I think I hear you saying is there potentially any whole foods that could be also bad for me?
yeah, or like because some whole foods can be processed, right? For example, if you start buying it out of the box inside the store, and most people would think, well, it's healthy and it's organic, but it has chemicals on it now.
Yes, I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah. So, I mean, like I said, anything that is grown and picked from a plant or walking around or swimming on the earth, that is a whole food. Anything in its raw, pure form.
Mm.
Now, there are healthy alternatives to the processed foods that we love. So, this is a really cool step to take if you are on a journey to gut healing, is that the paradigm here is that we do not have to live in a world of either or. It can be a world of and more. So
Mm.
what I mean by that is you don't have to sacrifice all the things in life that you love in order to live a life of optimized health. Now, what that does mean though is that it may require a reset, right? So if you are really just at the beginning of your gut healing journey, if you're like, man, where do I even start with this? Then please reach out to me now, because I have a group offering that we are actually in the process of launching right now. If you don't mind me sharing, it's a gut health reset. So this is the opportunity to eliminate the top sensitive 7 foods that could be causing inflammation in the body. And basically another value that I operate from is that the body is perfect. We are made in the divine image of God. We are made absolutely perfectly to do what our body does best. Our liver detoxes, our adrenals, our stomach, our GI tract, everything from our teeth and our tongue that helps start digestion. Like, our bodies are perfectly made to do exactly what it's supposed to do. But we have to give it the opportunity to heal and detox. And if we are living in a life where we are consuming things and, putting toxins on our skin and breathing toxins in our air and drinking toxins in our liquids and eating it in our foods, it's going to be not an optimal state to naturally heal and detox. So those top sensitive 7 foods, and I think this is maybe a good correlation to your question, is sometimes even whole foods can cause problems if you have enough dysbiosis in your gut, right? So something like gluten. There's a lot of talk and confusion around gluten in the world, but if you do not have celiac disease, but you are sensitive to gluten, it could just be a sign that there's some dysbiosis in your gut. And once optimized, you can probably enjoy a pizza every now and again, and you won't get those same symptoms that you are getting now every single time you eat it, because your body is overloaded with inflammation. So to answer your question directly, anything that comes from the earth, like I said, right off the vine or out of the dirt, or that is walking or swimming on this world, is a whole food. Anything that comes out of a box has been processed. And what this means is that they have taken that raw form of that vegetable or fruit or whatever it is, and they have changed it, shifted it, added things to it so it lasts on your shelf for a long time. Now, again, that being said, there are a lot of healthier alternatives out there. So if you do have, for example, a gluten sensitivity, you can switch to maybe lentil pasta. Now, that pasta is not lentils in its raw form anymore. It is processed. But if you look at the ingredients, and this is something I always encourage people to do on their journey, is to stop looking at nutrition facts and start looking at ingredients. If sugar is an ingredient in there, you know that there's going to be sugar in the nutrition facts, right? I care less about calories than I do about chemicals. So again, this is another sort of thing that I teach to my clients and in the program that we are about to go through is, this is not about deprivation. This is not about restricting. This is not about not allowing yourself to enjoy life. This is about creating a safe container for your body to do what it does best and explore different foods for your body. So that way on the other side, we can see, all right, how can I live this lifestyle of all and more? So maybe that lentil pasta is processed, but if the only ingredient in it is organic lentils and sea salt, which of course salt is a natural preservative, then that's probably okay for me once I've optimized my gut health, right? Mm-hmm. So it's a longer answer to a relatively short question, but I think the point of that is that it's not black or white. It's a very gray area. And I think something, again, that's very important for me to help to teach my clients is to walk in that gray area with pride and knowledge and empowerment within your own body to say, you know what? I've optimized myself. I can enjoy some maybe organic sulfate-free wine every now and again, and that's okay for my body. Or maybe I don't even need to worry about that. You know, like, what are the things that I enjoy in my life, and how can we get to a point where we're not sacrificing the things that we love? And it typically starts with eliminating those things that are causing inflammation and then reintroducing them one by one to see how we are reacting to them.
Excellent. So how can people go and learn more about you, and, where can they go to connect with you?
Awesome, Bryce. Thank you. Please head over to my website. It's chelseahainescoaching.com. Here you can find my offerings. You can join the Gut Health Reset Program, which launches on May 26th. This is our first group call. You can learn all about that program as well on my website. You can also connect with me on all social media platforms through there. So I'm very active on LinkedIn as well as Facebook. And of course, Instagram is where I spend most of my time on social media. And you can also find my podcast there. So link to my podcast called Let's Start Health. It's also gives you a little bit of more about me as well. I've been a yoga teacher on private super yachts for the last 5 years. So that's kind of a fun story that you can read about on my website as well.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the program that's going? You said, I think it's May something, it's 26th?
Yeah, so starting May 26th, so about a week from tomorrow, we launched the Gut Health Reset Program. So again, this is the starting point for anybody on a journey to healing. This is where I started my journey back in 2009. This is when I was a year out of college and in a really bad economy crash and had no foreseeable jobs in the future and no income. And I said, you know what, this is worth it for me. So the money, the time, the investment, it's very funny how here we are now 11 years later and it's the same kind of weird scenario. Living, of course, right now in this quarantine life that we're living. But it is a 14-day inflammatory elimination protocol. There is a week preparation that we take, and there is a week reintroduction that we have on the other side. Again, the intention is to hit the reset button in your gut and your life. So within the program, it is completely comprehensive with a Facebook group that we work with. I've put together a 90-page ebook that is a complete how-to from beginning to end with journals, lifestyle tricks and tips, Ayurvedic practices to help you really come back to your own baseline, recipes, shopping lists, of course, and not to mention you also get the opportunity to work with me one-on-one. So the price is super, it's a fraction of the cost of what it is typically to work with me one-on-one, but because it is a group offering, I've been able to offer that at a fraction of the cost. But, I think that something that's different for me, Bryce, that's really important is that the reason why this program is on a launch basis is because that support, that community, that high touch point is very important to me. So back in 2009, when I did this protocol, which projected me on a journey of a lifelong healing, the one thing that I felt was missing was that support. And if it wasn't for my own stubbornness and gusto to just do the damn thing and get it done, I don't know that I would have fulfilled it to completion. So that is something for me that's been very, very, very important. So the community aspect, the high touch point, the support from a health coach at a very affordable rate was the primary. The information doesn't equal the transformation. The transformation happens when we choose to show up and then we feel supported along the way. So yeah, if you have more questions, please DM me, chelseahainescoaching.com. You can send me an email through my website. You can find me on Instagram at the Chelsea Haines. And I'm very active right now online. You can sign up this week. Today is, I don't even know what the date is.
Can you spell
May
it?
18th. Yeah, May 18th. I'm sorry?
Can you spell it, your name?
Yes, CHELSEAHAINES coaching.com. And my Instagram is the Chelsea Haines.
Nice. You know, I really appreciate your time today. I really appreciate, you coming on and sharing with the audience, how to improve your gut health.
Definitely, Bryce. And I'd love to offer everyone, maybe one or two quick tips right now that you can start implementing now if investing in a program isn't quite the right time. My go-to tip for anybody listening if they want to start that journey to healing right now, and that is simply honor hunger and fullness. So what that means is eat when you're hungry and stop eating when you're full. And I know we are living in a time of high stress. Emotional eating is a thing. Walking over to the refrigerator because we are bored is a thing. So it's really all about getting curious and not judgmental about your process, and really redefining what food looks like for you, reassessing your relationship with food. Are you craving sweetness, comfort, intimacy, or are you just bored? Entertainment. What are you craving in your life, and why are you going towards food? Why is that the easy button for you? And again, this is not from a judgmental perspective. We're stepping into the seat of the observer, so we can start to reevaluate our relationship with how we are coping with stress. And when we are eating, when we are not hungry, is one of the most detrimental things that you can do for your gut health. Again, we have to give our gut the opportunity to absorb nutrients and to eliminate toxins. And if we are just constantly eating, it's going to just be focusing on digesting that food. So bring it back to the basics, honor your signs of hunger, get clear on what those signs are. So a lot of us don't even realize that we're hungry. We just eat because it's 12 or we eat because it's 6. Like we just have been so programmed to eat at certain times of day. But what are the signs that your body is actually hungry? And then never get too hungry and then never get too full.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. And for those watching at home, we really appreciate your time today. Hopefully you got a lot out of, Chelsea's wisdom and knowledge, even those great tips at the end. If you'd like to get connected to a community of people who are improving themselves and helping others do the same, I recommend you go and check out our free community, either on Facebook or on LinkedIn. Basically, we're forming a mastermind of people who are uplifting each other every single day. And, when you get around people who are like-minded, you start to improve as well. So if that is what you're interested in, go ahead and click on the link either above or below the video. Also, hopefully you enjoyed watching this video as much as we enjoyed creating it. Feel free to hit that share button so someone else can get some value as well. Have a great day. Talk to you soon. Done recording in 3 and 2 and 1.